Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a brand new video. I have been gone for a while, yes, but for good reason. This is going to be one of my favorite videos that I've ever made on this channel, and it's actually going to turn into a series and stay a series for longer than a week or 2 weeks or whatever, and I'm very excited. It's branched off of the idea that I had originally when I made my YouTube channel of having the Rap Podcast, which would be a sports-based podcast where I would have friends on and sometimes be solo and just talking about general stuff that's going on in the sports world. I think I overestimated how much news there is in the sports world because originally I wanted to do the Rap twice a week. And obviously, without making it be like a sports talk or sports TV talk show, talking about the same stuff all the time over and over again would be boring for me and also for you guys. So what I'm gonna do is every week you will get one of these videos, and I'm going to be choosing one game for the underdog to cover the spread in the NFL. That doesn't necessarily mean that they will win the game, but out of all the games in the week, there's a point spread. Where one team is favored by a certain amount of points, and what that means. So say the Patriots play the Colts, and the Patriots are favored by 7 points. That means that the spread is 7 points. So the Patriots would be favored by 7 points, and that I would choose in that game particularly. I would choose for the Patriots to cover the spread, meaning that I think that they can win by at least 8 points, because if you do 7 points then it's a push, so I would think that they would win by at least 8 points. Now if I thought the Colts would make it a close game, I would pick the Colts as the underdog to cover the spread to lose by 6 or less points. So that's how that works. So each week when you get one of these videos, I will be choosing one game out of the NFL schedule to have the underdog cover the spread, one game for the favorite to cover the spread and obviously win that game, and then I will choose one game that really catches my eye that would be either one, so either the favorite to cover or the underdog to cover, and then I'll be picking the team that I think will win every game of the week. So we're going to start off with the team that I have to pick the underdog that I have to cover the spread. So the underdog that I have to cover the spread this week is the Tennessee Titans. In that game, Tennessee is at Miami this week, and Miami is favored by 3.5 points. Miami has literally not showed me a single thing to grab my attention. The Seahawks struggled week 1, and they lost to the Seahawks 12-10, so that was a defensive game. They played good defense, but also the Seahawks struggled. And week 2, I don't remember who they played the Patriots week 2, and the Patriots ran up the scoreboard against them in the first half until Jimmy Garoppolo got injured, and Jacoby Brissett, who had no experience no preparation for the game, he wasn't prepared to start the game at all. Probably didn't think he was even going to come into the game. So when he came into the game, the Dolphins made it a closer game, but they eventually still lost. And then they played the Browns week 3 and didn't show me a thing by going into overtime against the Browns. And that was Cody Kessler's. That was when it was after Robert Griffin III and Josh McCown got hurt. So Cody Kessler, the third-string quarterback, a rookie quarterback, came in, and they should have and almost beat the Miami Dolphins. So the Dolphins haven't showed me a thing. They had a bye week this past week in week 4, so they sit at 1-3, I believe. Yeah, or 1-2. Yeah, 1-2 on the year. They haven't showed me a thing, and Tennessee has been playing decent football. I'm not going to say that they've been playing good football. Marcus Mariota hasn't taken that next step that a lot of people would like to see him take. But DeMarco Murray is looking like the old Dallas Cowboys DeMarco Murray, where you feed him the ball, he's going to get you yards, he's going to get you touchdowns, and he's been catching the ball very well out of the backfield. And even when he goes out of the game, they have Derrick Henry, the Heisman winner from last year, who can come in and give them a nice change of pace. also somebody who can run the ball for him, and it's like a trusted second back. So I really like that. Their defense hasn't been playing awful, so I like Tennessee to cover the 3.5-point spread against Miami. I should preface all of these picks and everything by saying that all of my spreads are according to footballlocks.com as of yesterday. So Monday, October 3rd is when these spreads came out. And one thing I really like in particular about this Tennessee-Miami spread is that if Miami wins by a field goal, then Tennessee still covers the spread because it's at 3.5 points. So that is my pick this week as the underdog to cover the spread will be the Tennessee Titans. Moving on to my team to cover the spread as the favorite is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. The New York Jets are coming into Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh coming off a huge win this past Sunday night against Kansas City where they won 43-14, I believe, and absolutely embarrassed the Chiefs in the first quarter and really the first half. Honestly, even the first 3 quarters and into the fourth quarter. So Kansas City eventually did score 14 points at the end of the game in garbage time, basically. But Le'Veon Bell looked very good in his return to the season. Big Ben threw for 5 touchdowns and over 300 yards, I believe, which, honestly, if it was a closer game, he could have thrown for 10 touchdowns because he threw 3 touchdowns in the first quarter. But I really like Pittsburgh to cover the spread against the Jets. The Pittsburgh defense looked better than they always have the past couple of years. So they've really struggled in the secondary the past couple of years, and I don't really think that Alex Smith was like a top quarterback for challenging that secondary, but neither is Ryan Fitzpatrick, as he has thrown 9 interceptions in the past 2 weeks, which is absolutely abysmal. It's terrible. So I really like Pittsburgh to cover the 7-point spread that they have at home against the Jets. I think that they'll win by at least 2 touchdowns, if not 10 points or something like that. So I really like the New York Jets the Pittsburgh Steelers rather, to beat the New York Jets by at least 7.5, 8 points this week. Now my either pick this week is going to be an underdog. It's going to be the Buffalo Bills heading into Los Angeles to play the Rams. The Rams have a 2.5-point favorite, or are a 2.5-point favorite right now. The Rams are 3-1 and the Bills are 2-2, but the last 2 games for the Bills have been spectacular. They started off a little shaky in the beginning of the year, but 2 weeks ago playing in Arizona and winning 38-13 or something like that, I believe, 38-18. I don't remember exactly what the score was. But LeSean McCoy is looking like the all-star Shady McCoy that we saw. Obviously not all-star. There's no all-star game in the NFL, but he's looking like a star running back that we saw in Philadelphia for the first time pretty much since he's came to Buffalo. He's in every down back. He's catching the ball to the backfield. He's running the ball very efficiently. I really like what the Buffalo Bills defense is doing specifically because Carson Palmer, David Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald, all those guys, they have a ton of weapons in Arizona, and they played very well against them. And also, this past week, they played the New England Patriots. Shut out the New England Patriots at home for the first time since 2006 or something, I believe. Either 2006 or 1997, something like that. I saw a stat on ESPN the other day. So a huge win for the Buffalo Bills defense yesterday and even 2 weeks ago in Arizona. So going on the road against the LA Rams, whose offense hasn't really proved a thing this year, I really like the Buffalo Bills to cover the 2.5-point spread. Now, the Rams defense has played very well this year, but I don't think the way that I look at it is the strong suit for the Rams is their defense, and the Buffalo Bills have a strong offense. Well, I shouldn't say a strong offense. They have a good offense and a good defense. So a strong defense for the Rams and a poor offense for the Rams, a struggling offense for the Rams, I should say, because they have potential with Todd Gurley, who has not lived up to his potential this season yet so far. But I just see the very good defense of the Rams and the struggling offense of the Rams not matching up enough, even at home, not being enough to cover the 2.5 point spread against Buffalo. So that's my either pick of this week. Now I'm just going to be going down the list from the Thursday night game all the way through the Monday night game of my picks of the week. So Thursday night this week we have Arizona at San Francisco. I'm going to be listing off the spreads for all of these games as well, just in case anybody's curious. So Arizona at San Francisco. Arizona is favored by 3 points. I am going to take those 3 points, and I am going to pick Arizona to win. Now, with these picks, I'm not necessarily trying to cover the spread. I'm just picking what team I think will win the game. So Arizona, I think, is going to go into San Francisco, and San Francisco hasn't really showed anything either other than the first night when they Monday night when they beat the Los Angeles Rams 28-0. Other than that, they haven't showed me really anything. They can't throw the ball to save their soul. They're decent at running the football, but they cannot throw the ball. I think they rank dead last in the NFL. And that's another thing about this video is at the bottom of your screen, you're going to see like a ticker like on ESPN, and it's going to be running the stats for each matchup for each team through the season so far. So that's something that you can look for on the bottom of the screen, just looking for those stats. But I'm going to take Arizona to beat San Francisco in San Francisco on Thursday night. Sunday for the noon games, Houston at Minnesota. Minnesota is favored by 6. I am going to pick Minnesota. Houston has J.J. Watt out, and Minnesota has looked absolutely dominant so far this year. In my opinion, they are without a doubt the best team in the NFC and probably one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the NFL. With a 4-0 record, Sam Bradford is playing much better than any of us are accustomed to seeing Sam Bradford playing at an NFL level because he was very good in college, but he hasn't shown us that in the NFL until this year. He's not turning the ball over. I still don't think he has a turnover yet this season, if I'm not mistaken. They're running the ball without Adrian Peterson well enough to get it done. They obviously aren't running the ball with the success that they would with Adrian Peterson, but I think they're running it well enough to beat the Houston Texans without J.J. Watt. That still is a very good defense, but I just don't see Houston's offense being able to put up the numbers that they have against this very stingy Minnesota defense. Next is the Tennessee Titans at the Miami Dolphins. We already went over this. I did pick the Titans to cover the spread against Miami of 3.5 points, and I'm also going to pick them to win that game against Miami. This was one of the 2 tougher games for me to pick because I don't know a ton about Tennessee. I don't know a ton about Miami. It's basically the eye test and who they've beaten, how much they've beaten them by, or who they've lost to and how much they've lost by, and how they lost and how they won, whatever. So I'm going to take the Tennessee Titans just because I don't see Miami being able to stop the run of Tennessee. And Ryan Tannehill is good for at least 2 turnovers per game, so that's going to set up Tennessee with pretty good field position and not needing to throw the ball a ton. So I think that this is going to be a low-scoring and fairly close game, but I think Tennessee is going to come out on top. Next comes the New England Patriots at the Cleveland Browns. This is Tom Brady's first game back, and the spread is showing that as New England is favored by 10.5 points on the road. Now, the Cleveland Browns in all of their games this year have lost by, I think the most they've lost a game by is 4 points. Or no, that's not true because they lost on a touchdown in overtime. So the most they've lost by in a game this year is 6 points, and that game went to overtime. So week 1, they got beat in a tight game. Week 2, they were up 20-0, I believe, against the Ravens and got beat. Week 1, they played the Eagles, and maybe that wasn't as tight of a game as I think it is, but I can't remember. But anyway, I'm going to pick the New England Patriots to beat the Cleveland Browns. I don't know about that 10.5 point spread. That's why I stayed away from this one. But Tom Brady coming back, the Patriots looked good with Jimmy Garoppolo, let alone when Tom Brady comes back, arguably one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. I'm going to pick them to beat the Cleveland Browns at Cleveland. The next game is New York Jets at Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh, as you know, is favored by 7 points, as I picked as I picked Pittsburgh to cover that spread as the favorite. So you therefore know that I picked Pittsburgh to win. And I told you I'm going to pick Pittsburgh to win by a couple of touchdowns. The next game was easily the most difficult game for me to pick. Washington at Baltimore. Baltimore the first 3 weeks didn't play top competition. Competition? Did I say that right? I said that right. They didn't play top I feel like I'm saying this word wrong every time I spit it out. The Baltimore Ravens did not play top tier teams. We'll say it like that. They didn't play top tier teams or really even mediocre teams until this past week when they played the Raiders, the Oakland Raiders, and the Oakland Raiders beat them. So I am going to pick Baltimore this week. Washington at Baltimore. I'm going to pick Baltimore. Baltimore is a 4-point favorite at home. The only reason I picked Baltimore to win this game is because their defense has looked pretty good this year, and they're at home. Simply the only reasons why I am picking Baltimore. I think Kirk Cousins will throw 1 to 2 interceptions this game, and that will be enough for the Baltimore defense to turn those into points at home. So I think Baltimore is going to win that game, but that is a close game and difficult to pick. The next game is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles at the Detroit Lions. Philadelphia is favored by 3 on the road in this game, and I'm going to pick Philadelphia to win this game by more than 3 points. So this past week, Detroit and Chicago showed me a lot that I needed to know. I needed to know if in that game if it was going to be a shootout, or if Chicago's defense was going to show up, or Detroit's defense was going to show up, or even if Chicago's offense would be able to score with the Detroit defense. Going back to week 1 when Detroit beat Indianapolis, it was no defense involved. So it was very important for me to see that this past week. And seeing the Chicago defense step up, the Philadelphia Eagles defense is one of the probably 5 or 10 best in the NFL this year. It's been very good. As well as Carson Wentz being able to tear up the field this year in his rookie season. I think he will absolutely shred apart that Detroit Lions defense, and they will be able to come out of that game with no problems beating Detroit. Now the next game is the Chicago Bears at the Indianapolis Colts. Indianapolis is favored by 4.5 points at home, but I'm not going to take them. I'm going to take the Chicago Bears. The Bears defense looked very good this past week against a top of the, I won't say a top of the line offense, but an offense with a lot of weapons, with Matthew Stafford, Marvin Jones leading the NFL in receiving yards until probably this past week when Julio Jones had 300 yards. Shout out to my fantasy team for having Julio Jones because he put up 48 points in my PPR league. Anyway, getting back to the picks, I'm going to pick Chicago at Indianapolis because Jordan Howard, yes, Jordan Howard, I picked him up in my league and nobody else even put in a waiver claim for him or thought anything about him. Picked him up in my league and very glad that I did. He absolutely ran all over that Detroit defense, and he is going to be able to run all over the Indianapolis defense, as well as Jay Cutler, but Brian Hoyer will be able to throw to Alshon Jeffrey, to Zach Miller, whoever he wants on that defense. That Indianapolis defense is probably one of the worst in the NFL. So I'm going to pick Chicago to go into Indianapolis and beat them. So our next game is Atlanta at Denver, and this is another intriguing matchup this week. So we have Denver, who is known as the greatest defense in the NFL right now, and Atlanta, well, their defense isn't so good, but their offense has been very electric so far this year. I think they lead the NFL in points per game scored, or maybe it's yards per game. Not sure, but once again, you'll see that at the ticker at the bottom of the screen. This is a very difficult game for me to pick because Denver has 2 lockdown corners who have proven throughout the past 3-4 years that they are lockdown corners. And Atlanta has Julio Jones, who just caught 12 catches for 300. Yes, 300, 3 bills, and a touchdown against Carolina. And Carolina doesn't have a bad defense. I'm going to pick Denver in this one because I think that the pass rush will definitely get to Matt Ryan in this game, from Von Miller, from Shane Ray, from Shaquille Barrett. All those guys can come in, fresh legs off the bench, rotate in and out. And another big thing that a lot of people underestimate is the altitude up in Denver. And this game is in Denver, So Atlanta, the Falcons aren't really used to that. They don't play in Denver twice a year like some of the division rivals of the Broncos. And so I think that is going to be one of the more deciding factors, is that they can swap in and out their pass rushers, can Denver, and Atlanta really can't do that. I mean, Atlanta doesn't have the depth that the depth that the Broncos have as at pass rushing, and also Denver, that's their home. Like they're accustomed and used to playing in that altitude and stuff. So I think I'm going to take Denver on that one, and I think that the cornerbacks, I don't think they can stop Julio Jones, but I do think that they can slow him down. Similar to what they've been doing. They don't stop the top number one elite receivers on teams. They just do a very good job of containing them and making sure that they put their team in a position to win the game. So next we have Buffalo at the Los Angeles Rams, and we previewed this game earlier, and I picked Buffalo to cover the spread at Los Angeles, the 2.5 point spread, and I'm going to go ahead and pick them to win the game as well, based off all the reasons that I touched on earlier, being that the Rams offense is struggling and the Rams defense is great. And I don't think that equates to the solid offense and defense that the Buffalo Bills have had, and they're coming in hot off of two very good all-around offensive, defensive, and special teams performances against the Cardinals, who are a top-tier team, and the Patriots, who are also a top-tier team. So I think that the Buffalo Bills will win this game, and if they do, I would consider it a considerable step back for the Buffalo Bills. And I don't necessarily think that it would be, if the Rams win, I don't necessarily see it as, okay, they are legit, they did beat the Buffalo Bills, because it is at home, and this is kind of a prove me game for the Buffalo Bills, whether or not they can stand up to a very good defense, because the Rams have a better defense than the Cardinals and the Patriots do. So that's really what I'm really looking forward to this game this weekend, and seeing who comes out on top on that game. Our next game is San Diego at Oakland. So if you have been completely out of the loop, the Chargers have blown 2 fourth-quarter leads of 13 or more points this year, and the rest of the NFL has blown none of such games. Oakland has looked very good this year. Derek Carr has turned the ball over 1 time this year and thrown 9 interceptions. He's thrown 9 touchdowns to 1 interception, hasn't fumbled the ball or anything. Any other turnovers this year. They're looking very good. Amari Cooper hasn't needed to be that number one go-to guy. They have Michael Crabtree for that, and when they double Michael Crabtree, they can easily throw it over to Amari Cooper. Also, the Raiders are running the ball very well. They have 2 running backs who are averaging over 5 yards per carry on all their touches, and then their starting running back, Latavius Murray, is averaging right around 4 yards per carry on his carries. So they're running the ball very well. They're protecting Derek Carr. He's only been sacked 2 times this season. Out of the 4 games that they've played, 2 times he's been sacked. That's very good for that offensive line. I really think that Oakland's going to pull this game out. Oakland is favored by 4 points at home. And going back, I don't think that I mentioned that Denver was a 6-point favorite at home against Atlanta. And as you guys know, the Rams are a 2.5 point favorite against Buffalo. I'm not sure if I touched on that. But Oakland, getting back to the Oakland-San Diego game, Oakland is a 4-point favorite at home. And I think that Oakland is going to really give it to the Chargers at home. I think that this is going to be a game that the Oakland Raiders dominate on offense. And I don't think they're going to dominate on the defensive side. But I don't see it being a close game. We'll put it that way. So next, we have Cincinnati at Dallas. Cincinnati in this game is favored by 1 point on the road against Dallas. This is one that I wanted to pick Dallas to cover the spread, but it is only a 1-point spread. I really like Dallas this year. Dak Prescott yet to turn over the ball. We've had a lot of people yet to turn over the ball this year, young quarterbacks yet to turn over the ball. Carson Wentz, Dak Prescott, and Derek Carr's turned the ball over 1 time, which is still impressive. Excuse me, I'm clearing my throat because I'm a little bit sick, if you guys couldn't tell. But I was so excited to bring you guys this video and this podcast type of deal, if you will, that I couldn't hold back. I needed to get it recorded. Just get it out of the way. Not even get it out of the way because I'm so excited to do it. Just do it. So, back to this game. Cincinnati at Dallas. I'm going to pick Cincinnati to win this game just because I think that A.J. Green's going to have an absolute heyday with that Dallas secondary. There's not really anybody to cover him. They can double him all they want, but it's A.J. Green. I think that A.J. Green's going to have a great day. And also, Tyler Eifert is said to be expected to play this week for the first time this season. And as much as Cincinnati threw the tight end last year, they are throwing to the tight end position more this year without Tyler Eifert. So that's a huge thing for Cincinnati, getting Tyler Eifert back, because he is one of the better tight ends in the NFL. So I think I'm going to pick Cincinnati to take the win against Dallas in Dallas this weekend on Sunday afternoon. Our Sunday night game is New York Giants at Green Bay. Green Bay is favored by 7 points at home, and I'm going to take Green Bay. After watching Monday Night Football last night, New York's defense didn't show me everything that I thought they were. I thought they were much improved, and they are much improved because you couldn't get much worse than what they were. They are much improved, but I don't think they're improved enough. Green Bay had a week off this past week, and they haven't looked great this year, has Green Bay, but they've looked good enough to beat the Giants, I think, at home. So I'm gonna pick the Green Bay Packers to beat the New York Giants in Green Bay on Sunday night. Now, for our last game of the week, Monday Night Football, Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Carolina Panthers. Carolina is favored by 6 points in this game. Here is one thing that this entire game depends on for me: whether or not Cam Newton can play. If Cam Newton can play, this game's a wrap. Carolina is not losing at home to the struggling Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They will not do it. I'm here to tell you right now, if Cam Newton has anything to do with it, they will not lose. Now, if Cam Newton is out with his concussion, Carolina has to play Derek Anderson at quarterback. Derek Anderson looked good until the final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter on Sunday, playing the Atlanta Falcons, where he threw, well, one of the interceptions was his fault, and the other one was tipped into an interception. So he had 2 interceptions after taking over late in the he had 2 interceptions late in the fourth quarter. He took over deep into about halfway through the fourth quarter for Cam Newton, threw 2 touchdowns, brought the team back. I just don't know that he can do it by himself for an entire game. He didn't prove that he could do it for the fourth quarter. Granted, he was down a lot, but Jonathan Stewart still being out, they don't have that presence of running the ball with Jonathan Stewart. Cam Newton has become their runner with Jonathan Stewart out, and if Cam Newton is out, they are not going to be able to run the ball. So for me, this pick is an if. If Cam Newton plays, Carolina dominates. If Cam Newton does not play, Tampa Bay wins. So I'm going to bank on Cam Newton toughing it out and playing, and I'm going to pick Carolina to win this game. Now, with that said, I'm going to be keeping track of the games that I win and lose in this, as well as the games against and with the spread and stuff like that I pick. I'm going to be keeping track of my record throughout the year, and we're going to see how I do. So that one could be a deciding factor for my record at the end of the year. If this is something that you guys enjoy as much as I do, because for the past, what have I been recording? 30 minutes? Somewhere around there? Let me look. Yeah, right around 30 minutes. I've been recording for about 28, 30 minutes. I've just been having a blast. Just sitting here talking to you guys has been great and rekindled my excitement to continue doing YouTube. This is going to go up on YouTube and possibly SoundCloud. I do have a SoundCloud account now. It is, I believe it's just SoundCloud. No, that's not it. I was going to say it's soundcloud.com/ShamGodYT, but it's not. There's a link. I'll put a link in the description below, but there's also a link on my channel page for my SoundCloud. This might go up on my SoundCloud, but if you guys are watching it here, obviously you won't be watching it on my SoundCloud if you've already listened to it once. If you guys want me to do other things, expanding off of just picks and picks against the spread and stuff like that, if you want me to give fantasy advice, if you want me to just talk fantasy, if you want me to talk news in the NFL world. So like Cam Newton getting knocked out and Odell Beckham Jr. and all this other stuff that's going on. If you guys want me to talk about that stuff, make sure you let me know down in the comments below. I will be happy to do that for you guys. But if you don't say anything about that, then I'll just stick to the basic picks, stuff like that, and I'll be running stats along the bottom line because I think that's just like an addition for you guys to see, rather than me just sitting here rambling on about all these stats. That would take up way too much time and be boring for you guys. So I'm just going to run them across the bottom of the screen. Just a little something different. Alright guys, really quick before I let you all go, I kind of want to do something a little bit different from what I've seen on any other YouTube channel. I don't think I've ever seen anybody else on YouTube ever do this. So what I'm going to be doing is every week when I give you one of these videos, I'm going to be putting the people's names who have subscribed to me since the last video. So I have 7 guys here, or girls, whatever, I don't know, 7 people to list off today. It's kind of an incentive to stay to the end of the video, and it's kind of an incentive to subscribe so that you get like a shout out, in a sense, because I'm going to be sharing what your name is on YouTube. And if you don't share your subscriptions publicly, I won't be able to shout you out. So if you don't share your subscriptions, then your name won't be shouted out, but that's all right. I'm still very thankful for all my loyal subscribers that I have. So let's just go right along with it. King Cracker, Another Gamer Dude HD, Brian 23 Flight, Kevy Derhemi, sorry if I butchered your name, but I'm doing my best, Treehouse Shenanigans, Sugary Racer 7845, and Vershad Royal. So once again, sorry if I butchered a couple of those names. But this is something I'll be doing every week. So if you subscribe before the next week's picks come out, your name will be shouted out at the end of the video, and your name will be on screen. Just a different way for me to thank you guys for subscribing and you guys knowing that I really appreciate it, because I do honestly really appreciate it. Just seeing all the people that enjoy what I put my time and efforts into puts a smile on my face, and it makes me want to keep doing it. So I really appreciate that. Thank you to those 7 people who subscribed since the last time I made a video. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
I got racks on the bed.